train's here, it's time.
I know, I'll miss you all so much.
We'll be waiting.
Bye, Mama.
The train station was louder than usual that windy afternoon, and something felt painfully wrong from the very beginning. A young woman stood beside a worn suitcase while strangers stared and whispered cruel things behind her back. The man who promised to marry her never came, and the train had already disappeared beyond the dusty horizon. Her eyes searched every corner of the platform, hoping the cowboy would suddenly appear with a smile. But minutes turned into an hour, and the truth slowly began settling heavily inside her heart. People passing by looked at her with pity, curiosity, and sometimes quiet judgment. You could almost feel the loneliness hanging around her like cold winter fog. She clutched the small letter in her trembling hand, the one that invited her here. Instead of a new life filled with hope, she was standing abandoned in a strange town. And that, my friends, was only the beginning of a story nobody expected. Now imagine standing there with nowhere to go and nobody waiting for you anymore. The station master eventually walked over, glancing awkwardly at her tired, hopeful face. He quietly told her the cowboy who ordered a mail-order bride had changed his mind. No explanation, no apology, just a message that she should probably return home. But the problem was simple and heartbreaking at the same time. She had already sold everything she owned just to afford that long journey west. Going back was impossible, and staying felt just as frightening and uncertain. The wind pushed dust across the wooden platform while people slowly disappeared. Soon the once busy station felt emptier than the desert beyond town. And she stood there wondering if her entire future had just vanished. Some folks nearby whispered that she should try finding work in town somehow. Others shook their heads quietly, knowing this rough frontier rarely showed mercy to strangers. She lowered her eyes, fighting tears she refused to let fall publicly. Pride was sometimes the only thing a person could hold onto out here. Her name was Clara, and she had traveled more than 1,000 miles chasing hope. Back home she cared for her younger siblings after their parents passed away suddenly. Responsibility shaped her heart long before this painful day at the station. But courage alone could not change the harsh reality waiting before her now. The sun slowly dipped lower, painting the sky orange behind the quiet railway tracks. That was when someone unexpected finally stepped forward from the shadows nearby. A tall cowboy leaned against a wooden post, quietly observing everything for quite some time. His hat covered most of his face, but his eyes watched her with thoughtful curiosity. He noticed how she stayed calm despite the humiliation others might never survive. Most people in this town would have walked away long ago feeling defeated completely. But she remained standing with quiet dignity that demanded a little respect. The cowboy pushed away from the post and slowly walked toward her suitcase. His boots echoed softly against the boards as the wind carried distant cattle sounds. Clara looked up nervously, unsure if another stranger planned to question her situation. Instead, he simply stopped beside her and spoke in a calm, steady voice. What he whispered next would change both their lives in ways nobody imagined. He tipped his hat politely and asked if the rumors about her were true. Clara hesitated before quietly explaining how the groom never arrived to claim her. There was no anger in her voice, only exhaustion and wounded disappointment. The cowboy listened carefully without interrupting or offering quick empty sympathy. Finally he nodded slowly as if considering something much deeper than her misfortune. Then he glanced toward the dirt road leading out of town toward distant ranchland. For a long moment he seemed unsure whether to speak his thoughts aloud. But sometimes life pushes people into decisions they never expected making. He leaned closer so only she could hear his next quiet words clearly. "My twins need a mother like you," he whispered gently, surprising her completely. Clara blinked in disbelief, unsure if she heard the cowboy correctly at first. Marriage proposals from strangers were not something she expected moments after rejection. The cowboy quickly explained he was not mocking her pain or desperation. His name was Daniel, a rancher raising 2 young children alone. Their mother passed away 2 winters earlier during a terrible fever outbreak. Since then the ranch felt empty despite the constant noise of cattle. His twins needed kindness, patience, and someone who truly cared about them. He had seen many people in town, but none showed the strength she carried. Watching her stand alone at the station told him everything about her character. Still, Clara wondered whether this unexpected offer was another cruel mistake. Daniel assured her he was not asking for love right away or grand promises. Life on the frontier rarely followed the stories people imagined back east. Sometimes partnerships began simply because two people needed hope and stability together. He told her she would have her own room and full respect inside his home. No pressure, no rushing feelings, only a chance to build something honest slowly. Clara looked at the empty station, realizing she truly had no other path. The sun was fading and night would soon arrive across the lonely plains. Returning east required money she did not possess anymore. Working alone in town might lead to hardship she could barely survive. Maybe this strange cowboy was offering more than just a roof tonight. She studied Daniel carefully, searching for dishonesty hidden behind his calm voice. But his eyes held something rare on the frontier: quiet sincerity and responsibility. He spoke about his twins with warmth that softened his otherwise rugged expression. Little Emma loved reading stories while Jacob followed him everywhere around the ranch. Both children missed having someone tuck them into bed each night gently. Clara felt her heart ache hearing how much those children needed guidance. Caring for siblings taught her patience most people never truly learned. Perhaps fate had brought her here for a reason nobody understood earlier. Still, agreeing to marry a stranger required courage she was not sure she had. The wind carried another lonely whistle from the distant train tracks behind them. Daniel noticed her hesitation and gave her time instead of pushing harder. He simply picked up her suitcase and placed it beside his horse quietly. "You can come meet the twins first," he suggested with respectful patience. "If you feel uncomfortable afterward, I will bring you back to town tomorrow." His words removed the fear of being trapped in another unwanted situation. Clara slowly nodded, realizing this small step might reveal her true path. She climbed onto the wagon seat while Daniel guided the horse forward. The road stretched across golden fields fading under the evening sky. Neither spoke much during the ride, yet something peaceful filled the silence. Sometimes life begins changing during the quietest journeys nobody notices immediately. When they reached the ranch house, two small figures ran across the yard excitedly. Emma and Jacob wrapped their arms around Daniel before noticing the woman beside him. Their curious eyes studied Clara while dust swirled around their tiny boots. Daniel knelt beside them and gently explained that their guest needed kindness tonight. Emma offered a shy smile while Jacob proudly showed Clara his wooden toy horse. The simple warmth of that moment melted the fear she carried all day. Inside the house, laughter echoed softly between worn wooden walls. Clara helped prepare supper while the twins shared stories about ranch adventures. Daniel watched quietly, realizing something remarkable was already happening naturally. The lonely station felt very far away now beneath the bright western stars. Later that night Clara sat outside watching lantern light glow through the windows. The twins were already asleep after insisting she read them a bedtime story. Daniel joined her on the porch, handing her a warm cup of coffee. Neither rushed to speak, letting the peaceful night settle between them first. Finally Clara admitted she had not felt this welcome in a very long time. Daniel smiled slightly, saying his ranch had been waiting for laughter again. They both understood life would not magically become perfect overnight. Trust needed time, patience, and shared work under the endless prairie sky. But sometimes the right people appear during the darkest hours unexpectedly. And perhaps that lonely train station had guided her exactly where she belonged. Weeks slowly turned into months filled with early mornings and warm family dinners. Clara discovered ranch life demanded strength but rewarded kindness every single day. Emma followed her everywhere, learning cooking, reading, and caring for injured animals. Jacob proudly called her the best storyteller in the entire territory. Daniel worked hard repairing fences while quietly admiring the happiness returning home. Neighbors noticed the difference immediately whenever they visited the ranch. Laughter replaced silence that once haunted every empty corner inside the house. Clara never forgot the painful station where everything nearly fell apart completely. Yet sometimes rejection becomes the doorway leading people toward unexpected happiness. And Daniel's whispered words changed a broken journey into a brand new life. Years later, travelers passing through town still heard the remarkable story often. They spoke about the woman abandoned at the station who became a beloved mother. Daniel and Clara built a life stronger than many couples who married traditionally. The twins grew up surrounded by patience, kindness, and honest frontier values. Even the station master smiled whenever he remembered that unusual afternoon long ago. Fate had written a different ending than anyone expected that windy day. Clara sometimes visited the station quietly, remembering how lost she once felt. But she always returned home grateful for the cowboy who saw her strength. One simple whisper changed everything for lonely hearts searching for belonging. And the Wild West proved again that hope often rides in unexpected directions. Now, friends, stories like this remind us the frontier was never only about guns. Sometimes the bravest thing a person could do was offer kindness to strangers. If this story touched your heart or made you imagine life on the prairie, tell me. Would you have trusted Daniel if you were standing alone at that station? Or would fear have pushed you toward a completely different decision that evening? I'd love hearing your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. And if you enjoy these Wild West stories filled with mystery and heart, stick around. Make sure you subscribe so you never miss the next incredible frontier tale. Leave a like if this story kept you listening until the very end tonight. And share it with a friend who loves unforgettable stories from the Old West.